Hey, welcome into a very warm and quiet special evening tonight on Tony Talks Trash about music. I've kind of been in the mood of some of my compositional favorites lately, so I'm going to add another log to the fire here with that. I'm going to count down my favorite top 20 Beach Boys songs. I've pared it down to a little more than what I did for the Todd Rundgren thing here, but I think that, certainly I could find 40 or more great songs that the Beach Boys did, but I think there's really with 20 of them really captured to me or blink ahead of the others, the same way that it would be with Todd. Of course, as I said before, you saw in my commentary, I'm a big Brian Wilson fan. I think Brian rewrote all the books on how to write music, and I know he said he took it from Spector and all, but it's pretty easy to see the line as it goes down through. And then, of course, I love Todd. Like I said, I just did the top 40 of his. Well, I figure I could do with 20 for the Beach Boys, so this is like, maybe if somebody's adventurous or has the time to do this. Unfortunately, with my job and everything, I don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of production time with this. I apologize for that. But this would be a great playlist to have. And maybe one day I'll go back with all these songs and make playlists of these and put these things up. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to count down tonight my top 20 favorite Beach Boys or Beach Boys associated songs. And that's what I'm going to do. First of all, I'm going to start off with number 21. Notice I only had 20. It's not a Beach Boys song. It's Guess I'm Dumb by Glenn Campbell. If there ever was a song that sounded like it belonged on Beach Boys today, it didn't make it on there. It's that one. If anybody's heard that, they hear the rarities thing, go try to look it up on YouTube. Pretty rare single. Guess I'm Dumb. It really stands out from all the other stuff that Glenn Campbell would do later, the country flavored things and his solo career with doing, Rhinestone Cowboy and Wichita Lineman and all the great stuff that Glenn Campbell did later. It's different, but it's brilliant. I mean, it sounds like it's sounds like it could be a Brian song. And he sings that falsetto. It's beautiful. Anyway, it's called Guess I'm Dumb by Glenn Campbell, released in 1965 or 66, right around the time I think he was subbing in for Brian for the short time before Bruce Johnston had joined. But what a gem that is, and fantastic. Now let's start in the real top 20. Number 20, the dog barks trailing off in the background. I have Caroline No, the haunting closer from Pet Sounds. That it's hard to forget when you get that last wailing. Oh, Caroline No, and it fades out. Do boom. It's beautiful. I mean, there's something about it. You can hear it's not about her hair. You can hear it's about a lot more than that. It's a coming of age. It's a guy really knowing something was happening but couldn't quite get a grasp on what it was. It's all happening too fast, and that's so well captured at that time. I'm going to go to number 19. I'm going to speak at a period of time, a lot of times where people thought Brian was somewhat inactive. I'm talking about from Sunflower, the song At My Window. I think just a beautiful song about a bird coming down, and it's kind of the odd thing of Brian talking in Spanish or something, and when he does talked about that a little bit, but then when they were playing the accordion bit. But I just think the beautiful harmonies in it and the way they come in and out are otherworldly. I mean, it kind of got a weird chord change here at the end. You know what I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Right before the resolution, it's a very strange kind of little irregular thing, but it's a beautiful song. Number 18, we're going to go back again to Pet Sounds with an early song that really struck a chord to me and anybody who's come from a rural situation in the city. That's not me. I had to prove I could make it alone now, but that's not me. I could try to be cool. What matters to me is what I could be to just one girl. Just a beautiful. I once had a dream, so I packed off and split for the city. It's just such a beautiful. It's such a picturesque sound, too. It's amazing to me. They talk about, well, these are the surf kings and this and that, but you really get the feeling of somebody leaving with that sound. How they did that with the reverb and such, I'm not sure. Number 17, I'm going to take us to the Smile Sessions or Smiley Smile, whichever version you want. the creeped out version on Smiley Smile with the straight, but I'm talking about hanging down from my window. Those are my wind chimes. I just think it's a beautiful version. Both of them are. Even the spooky one is kind of weird and creepy on Smiley Smile, but you still get a beautiful thing with it. I don't really know why they were into that macabre vibe with that song. It's very odd that they would attach that with that, but well, everybody's heard the stories of how they did Smiley Smile after Smile fell apart. They bunch of giggling, smoking hash, and going and running and doing things. It sounds like a bunch of straights, that had been not used to it. Maybe Brian was turning them on. Who knows what's going on? Number 16, I am going to go with the rarity on this thing. I haven't had represented enough, and I should, because the purity of his art and his voice is beautiful. I'm talking about the one Carl Wilson and the fabulous Full Sail from the L.A. Light album. I love the way that the group's vocals trail off with the boat horn, and it's just a beautiful sound. Some of the things they did in the 80s and the late 70s were just gorgeous with their mature voices, the way they still had that family blend together. Like Good Timing sounds beautiful, and Going On and songs like that, just beautiful here. But Full Sail, they really nailed it with the swells. It's just beautiful. Number 14. Or number 15, actually, I'm going to go, maybe a little bit Captain Obvious and hit wise, but I'm going to talk about the innovation of I Get Around. That was for the song single of the time that was out. That was an incredible stop-start song. You don't hear much drumming in it, but it churns on a dime. The lyrics are juvenile lyrics, comparatively. Kind of still stuck there a little bit about dad and rebelling and such, but the chords in that song and the shifts and something where it just came from some other world with all those beautiful vocal harmonies. Round, round, get around. It's just, there's nothing like it, and it should not be forgotten about. Number 14, I'm going to go to the song Little Bird. Little Bird from Friends is a completely different song that is, a lot of people wouldn't pick out. I've just always loved it because of the harmonies, especially as it fades out. Told me not to worry about my life. I just love the way it hangs in the air like that. It's beautiful. They were making magical music during that period of time. A lot of people talk about the post-Smile stuff being, inferior because it was kind of, taking off the Wild Honey stuff, which was kind of barren and kind of odd. But nevertheless, that's it. Number 13, I'm going to return to Sunflower. Sunflower with the beautiful song, I'm thinking about this whole world. Beautiful song. They played it live too, really well. Sang it really well. I think it's a nice, thick group sound. They kind of went for a thicker sound or a sound like that around the Sunflower. Add some music to your day. That style. That there was a lot. Cool Water. There was a lot of a thick background thing going. A lot more on that than there ended up being on something like maybe Surf's Up and stuff. To pared down more. They still had background vocals, but they weren't as thick as the harmonies and such weren't quite as thick. I'm going to for number 12, we are going to the great car song Don't Worry Baby from the early Beach Boys song about but she makes me come alive when she says, don't worry baby, everything will be all right. There's something about that was mature beyond his age. It's something connected with people in the time in the 60s that really said, wow, this guy is a different writer. He's really working on a different level then. For number 11, I'm going to go to what some consider the greatest side of the Beach Boys music, the Beach Boys today, from the second great side of that, and the magical song Kiss Me Baby, with its alternating falling halftime shift. Late, late, late night, they said it was over. Dun, 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 dun. bum, bum, ba-da-da. It's just, there's nothing like it, man. It's structurally superior. There's nobody that could write a song like that and make it work. I mean, I don't think even the Beatles would have a hard time with smoothing out those edges because it's such a rough, hard edge and such a good change. And the chord changes are just beautiful. It is something else. Number 11, Kiss Me, Baby. Going from an amazing vocal to a questionable vocal, but one of the most emotionally beautiful songs with the background vocals I've ever heard. Jack Riley on lead vocals on The Day in the Life of a Tree from Sunflower, another great song from, or that Sunflower actually wasn't from Sunflower, it's from Surf's Up. Something else, man. I mean, you know, it's not, again, many times it's not as if I think we did something in the fall when we were talking about the fall. There was a song that Mark had somebody sing that he couldn't sing on pitch. He was singing. There's just something about each individual performance in between that nuance. And it's such a beautiful emotional. He delivers such a beautiful emotional trees like me aren't meant to live if all that life can give. It's just gorgeous. It's beautiful the way that it falls out. That's my number 10. A Day in the Life of a Tree. Number 9, I'm going to return to a song that Brian Wilson had narrated to do with. He did a little bit to do with the arrangement of it, but it was largely, believe it or not, written by Mike Love and I think Al Jardine. All This Is That. Just a beautiful, beautiful song. The best song to me by far from Carl and the Passion. So Tough. And there's some good songs on it, but it has some songs that are also kind of non-characteristic of the Beach Boys sound. The songs originating from Flame and like He Come Down and songs like that. I mean, they're good songs. They're FM staple songs, and I see why they added them, but they're really not Beach Boys songs. Let's get back to that second side of today for Sometimes I Have a Weird Way of Showing My Love. She Knows Me Too Well. Beautiful, beautiful. Another beautiful, beautiful track from that delicate world that only Brian can create when you've got two things going on at the same time, really two ideas, and he puts them back to back in just the most beautiful, stark, straightforward way. Wonderful. Number 7, we're going to go a little bit earlier, the day that John Kennedy died. Mike Love and Brian Wilson returned to the studio and wrote the song The Warmth of the Sun, and I still think it maintains at this time to be one of the great statements of forlorn, depressed kind of depression. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful song, and you know, to try to be hopeful. Try to hold on to what you can, you know. Hold on to what hope that you can. You know, Mike Love got maligned a lot, and you know, admittedly so. But this is a masterpiece, and I give it to them. They handled it. They nailed it. Number 6, we're going to go. If you want to go to the Bernstein version, if you want to do whatever, we're talking about Surf's Up. Just a beautiful thing, you know. The recorded version, the Smile version, the Brian Wilson version later, all the bootleg versions that you've heard. All the versions live online. Brian, fantastic. Surf's Up, number 6, one of the linchpins of the Great Smile Project. Number 5, we are going to go to one of a couple songs on the second side of 2020, which I think is just otherworldly. It was recorded evidently at Bel Air or wherever Brian had his studio at his home, and I'm talking about I Went to Sleep. There's something about that song that's just mystical. Again at the park on a night summer's day, high up above me the wind gently swayed, a bird flew away and I went to sleep. What a song. I mean, he's just got some of the funniest stuff like that song. He can do it in a plaintive way, like he did Busy Doing Nothing, you know, on Friends and stuff. It's just, the guy, when he wants to be funny, can really be funny. Number 4, of course, one of the great songs of all time. Did Paul McCartney say it was his greatest song? It had no influence on whether I said it was my greatest song, but it is one of the great songs of all time. God only knows, acknowledged by all the people who review music and everything else. And always have to be one of the great songs. Saying what a lot of people had thought, I guess, before that, but just hitting the bullseye and blowing it out of the park, and Carl Wilson's gorgeous angelic lead vocal on it. Perfect. Number 3, we're going to go back to that 2020 song, and the second song about in the pine-scented air and the snow, screaming down the mountainside. Time to get alone. Just be together. But people are saying, really, that's your number 3? Yeah, it is. I think it's just takes you to another place. Da ba da 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 na 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 na. It's gorgeous, man. It's just with Carl's voice on it too. It's just the way, and they do that deep and wide. And they open the reverb real big on that. It's just great, man. Yeah, I love it. Aren't you glad we finally got away? Oh, just beautiful. And then it comes down to an intimate thing at the end. It's just me and my baby or whatever. It's just, you can't beat that, man. Well, there's only 2 left, man. And for number 2, I'm a leaf on a windy day. Pretty soon I'll be blown away. I lost my way. Hey, hey, hey. Till I die. Just a stunner from Sunflower. They could say he was retired. They could say whatever, but when he turns out stuff like that, you know that God has just stuck his finger in the room, and it came through. It came through him. There's nothing like this. There's nothing like this song anywhere, and I dare you to find it for me if you can. Till I Die just sounds like nothing else. And to me, that's the epitome of what music was. And it all leads me down to the number 1 song of all time, which to me is the heaviest of all messages. And it's the centerpiece to me of Pet Sounds. I'm talking about I Just Wasn't Made for These Times. Sometimes I feel very sad. I'd give my heart and soul. If I was happy, I'd give my heart and soul away too. Seems like God don't want me. I just wasn't made for these times. I don't know what kind of a sped space you have to be in to be simultaneously, writing the music of the heavens and saying how God doesn't want you at the same time, emotionally going through that turmoil. You can only imagine people that were around Brian, some of the stuff that he was like, the way he was like. I just saw an interview today with Carney, and Carney talks about, her growing up, and it's much the same. I think Moon Zappa just wrote something. It's much the same as you're when your father's such a huge figure and a huge influence on things. It's just impossible for him to live a normal life. And what unfortunately, during these periods of time, he was so into the music. He was so into what he was doing, and you can say, a lot of people can say at the Smile period and Good Vibrations, he burned himself out, and the other people can say they didn't want to go with him. And I think that the verdict after the fact, when you look at the verdict after when Smile was completed and Smile finished forward, I think that it's pretty clear it would have changed the story of things had it happened, and no wonder somebody that ends up having trouble and relating to things, especially when you've got those kind of pressures on you from the family, and not to mess up with the formula, and not to do anything to hurt the cash cow that's making a lot of money. Then have your dad sell your songs, and what a mind trip this guy went through, and the thing is, does he have to go through that to make this great art? Is that what the wailing soul that we hear, the suffering wailing soul, is that why it sounds the way it sounds? Is that why it's a cut better? Is it true that this stuff you just can't disguise this stuff if it's going on? It will out. Truth will out, and it will come out through the art and the beauty, and the beauty of this suffering, and the beauty of this perfection, and whatever else was going through Brian's head. Everybody benefited from it. Everybody who's listened, who's a fan of the music, anybody who tried to Let's try to compose music. The guys at Wellspring of ideas, and there's certainly much on the line. Everybody knows there's much on the net of all these old Sea of Tranquility things, and I did show you another bootleg of all the stuff that I have. It's fantastic, and in any event, I do appreciate you guys all tuning in here. Beach Boys are very important to me. Brian Wilson very important to me, and these songs are probably among the most sacred canon that I think there is. I mean, I certainly personally, I love the Beatles music too, but I personally hold these a little bit higher, closer to my heart than those. I think they're a little more emotionally connected. Like Till I Die, Time to Get Alone, I just wasn't made for these times. They're a little more, God only knows, they're a little more hooked in there than the Beatles, even though I love the Beatles stuff too. And maybe we'll come back here too and try to tackle that at this time. But I do appreciate you guys coming along. Please like the video if you would. We would appreciate if you would subscribe and again, hit the like button. And we do appreciate you guys always being here with us. And we will be back again with something else. But again, while I'm doing this, I'm trying to catch up on some of these song lists because I realize that if you muse and you riff a little bit on these songs, you really can get into a lot more of the minutia of why you really love these records and why this stuff means so much to you. So, and there's no question Beach Boys are right in the middle of me, buddy. So you guys all have a good evening, and we will check you next time with something fun and new. Thank you.